didn't want the battery to fall off because the battery was about to fall off. I boom a little more than Chris does. That's the only reason why you can hear me. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's nice to see some friendly faces, people we've seen around on the campaign trail for a while. As you know, we were nominated back in June, so we're very happy to get that done very quickly. And since that time, we've had a couple fundraising events. We're starting to build the team again. We've got greater supporters, especially if we have people from outside the riding that are starting to come on board and want to help us defeat our current Member of Parliament, who we like to refer to as a part-time MPP, mainly because he's very occupied this week because, as we know, the Ontario Liberal Party is here in Ottawa this week for their annual convention. They'll be doing a leadership vote on our dear Premier on the 27th, on probably tomorrow. They'll do the leadership vote. So he's been very busy, and we know that we need a full-time MPP, basically because what we found is our MPP is behind on what should be happening. The latest example is last Friday he started talking about the Eastern Ontario Development Fund, how Ottawa should be involved in getting some of the $20 million that they had set aside in the budget for that. Well, as the Parliamentary Secretary for the Finance Minister, these are things that he should be bringing up with his boss and talking about. Let's throw it in the budget now. Let's not worry about it 7 months after the budget's been passed. So what we find is that we have a Member of Parliament who is distracted from what his real responsibilities are, and that's actually looking after the constituents of Ottawa Centre. And our goal is to make sure we reverse that. We have a full-time MPP, not a part-time, he's got 3 part-time jobs, an MPP, Parliamentary Secretary for the Finance Minister, and what I think is his most important role in his head is he's the party president for the Ontario Liberal Party. So we're trying to, with the hard work and with going door to door, we're going to replace that. We're going to have a full-time MPP in Ottawa Centre. I want to mention that today we were to have a couple MPPs come in, Steve Clark and Jim McDonnell were going to come in and speak to us, but as we know, they're working really hard for us at Queen's Park right now. They're still sitting a little late today because of the contempt motion against the Ontario government and the Liberal Party for the $640 million that they're wasting of our money so that they could save a couple MPPs and keeping their jobs. So they're working hard for us in Toronto. We'll miss them, but we know that they're working on our behalf to make sure that they are held accountable for the money that they're wasting. And in the end, the Ontario taxpayers are going to have to be on the hook for $450 million out of that 640. So we need to make sure that we continue to press that message, that their message about looking after Ontario, they're doing it completely in reverse to the way it should be done. Watching the money from going out instead of keeping the money in. So we need to make sure we hammer that message on a regular basis. So that's where our MPPs are going. So Steve Clark and Jim McDonnell, they couldn't be with us, but again, they're here with us in spirit, and they send their best and they say hi to everyone. I know that we'll see them again soon in Ottawa, especially in Ottawa Centre. I'm also like to recognize here today our candidate in Ottawa Orleans, Mr. Andrew Lister is here. Wave, there he is. Damien Konstantakos is our former candidate of record in Ottawa Centre federally. And as I said many times before, Damien and I have a good working relationship. We're going to continue to work together with the federal and the provincial associations. We're going to make sure that the two of us work together to elect not just one Conservative, but 2 Conservatives to represent Ottawa Centre. A couple other people who I think we need to recognize for their work today. Roland Brenner, who was our organizer for our event this evening. Thank you, Roland. And as well, we have Chris Crawford from our party, who is our Eastern Ontario Regional VP.
Good guy, that Chris.
And as well, Charmaine Clayton, who not only serves as our riding president, but more importantly, does a fabulous job working with the party executive, making sure we get the candidates in all the ridings, making sure that the party is working in the right direction to form government in the next election. So Charmaine's here. As well, where's Michael Rennick is here. He's the president of Ottawa West Nepean. And you're going to Chicago this weekend? Is that what you're doing, or is it next weekend? So next weekend he's running the Chicago Marathon after, so we wish him well in Chicago. So I want to thank everyone for coming here. I'm not the star attraction here tonight. The beer is co-headlining with our special guest today. We want to thank Greg Brickford for coming in and being the DH for Rick Dykstra, who had asked who was available to come. But Rick's come in, and you know what? He's the best. And you know, I think we've done great with Greg coming in. I want to talk a little bit about Greg. He represents the riding of Kenora, and you said how many square kilometers?
326,716 square kilometers.
327K square kilometers. That's a big riding. And you know, Greg right on top, he tells us that Ottawa Centre is 35 square kilometers.
33.
33. We're talking of condos when we go up to get those extra couple kilometers and make it sound good. Greg is, he works as a strong voice in the House of Commons during his first term. He served as a member on the standing committees for Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development and Access to Information and Privacy and Ethics. He's also elected by his colleagues from all parties to chair the All-Party Tourism Caucus in the last Parliament. Recognizing Greg's leadership and strong voice for Northern Ontario, our Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, appointed Greg to become the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of State for Official Languages in August of 2010. And just 6 months later, he was then tagged to become the Parliamentary Secretary for Indian Affairs and Northern Development. So very, very important portfolio. We know that our Northern Affairs and our First Nations require a lot of attention, and Greg is working very hard with the ministry to make sure they get the attention and the care that they need. So I'm going to call Greg up here to speak for a few minutes. He's going to take a few questions from you, and then we're going to go from Greg, and then we're going to go have a little beer tasting, because I know that's why you're here, along with Greg. So Greg, thanks very much for joining us.